Before the sword fights, before the daddy issues, before your arm got turned into a steampunk Swiss Army knife, there was a dragon. But not the fun kind, not ride it into battle dragon, not merchandise it for plush sales dragon. No, this one came from somewhere else. A godlike beast that slithered halfway across the world, dropped a miracle in the dirt, and vanished like your emotional stability after a third rewatch of Evangelion. This was the Divine Dragon, and what it brought wasn't power, it was immortality, the kind that looks like a gift until everything around it starts dying. At first, people thought it was a blessing. No sickness, no death, just eternal life and a radiant bloodline with anime hair. But immortality doesn't come free, and the receipt showed up in the form of dragon rot, a creeping, soul-choking curse that spread like a divine virus. The longer the dragon's blood lingered, the sicker the land became. People didn't just drop dead, they just broke. Spirit first, body second, coughing up essence like their lungs owed them rent. It wasn't a plague, it was a side effect of trying to skip the line in death's door. The dragon had left behind its bloodline, cursed, divine, and extremely exploitable, and disappeared into some mystical afterlife zone we'll get to later. This wasn't a sacred land, it was an infection site that learned to call itself holy. And while everyone was coughing up their souls and pretending it was fine, Ashina started a war. Ashina wasn't a kingdom, it was a mountain with a grudge. One of the last independent territories left in Japan, back when the whole country was basically just a group project of warlords failing in different countries. While the rest of the land fell under the control of the Interior Ministry, aka big government with a sword budget, Ashina decided it wasn't going quietly. And the guy leading the charge? Isshin Ashina. Not born noble, not chosen by fate, he just hit everything harder than the people who told him no. He carved out his domain the old-fashioned way, by murdering everyone else who wanted it. Ashina became a proud little war state, the I'll-do-it-myself energy of a nation distilled into one stubborn mountain fortress. But Isshin got old, the ministry got stronger, and Ashina started spiraling. Their golden age was cracking, and panic set in faster than a group chat argument at 2 a.m. If we can't win the war normally, maybe we just make ourselves unkillable. That was the logic, so they turned to forbidden rituals, divine blood, parasites, anything that would buy them time. Because Ashina wasn't trying to evolve, it was just trying to not die. When survival becomes your only goal, morality becomes a suggestion, a cute little idea you think about after the human experiment. While Ashina was gearing up to fight a war it couldn't win, some monks up in the mountains decided they were done with mortality. That's how you get Senpu Temple, a holy site full of chanting, incense, and whatever the medieval Japanese version of Reddit pseudoscience was. The monks saw Ashina dying, they saw the divine blood on the wind, and they started thinking, what if we could save the country by becoming gods? That's how you get worm-based salvation. But unlike the Ashina warlords, they didn't have dragon blood or shinobi muscle, so they got creative. Desperate. Centipede in your spinal cord desperate. Sound familiar? See, they discovered these parasitic centipedes that could keep your body alive forever. Kind of. Technically, if you don't mind giving up basic motor control and personal dignity. You'd still breathe, still move, but your soul would clock out, and your limbs would start doing iterative dance against your will. They called it a transcendence, everybody else called it body horror with a side of chanting. And somewhere along the line, the monks stopped trying to become divine and started worshipping the rod. By the time anyone noticed, Senpu was filled with broken monks who twitch in slow motion and mumble like YouTube conspiracy guys halfway through a meltdown. Eventually, even they realized, hey, maybe this isn't what Buddha had in mind. But by then, the worms were in the bloodstream, and Senpu did what every failed cult does when their homebrew god juice isn't working. They try to steal someone else's. Kudo. A soft-spoken child with dragon heritage, a literal living vessel of immortality, descended from the divine dragon. No worms, no rot, just raw, inherited immortality. The kind that actually works and doesn't turn you into a living crash log. Naturally, this made him the most important person in Ashina, also the most kidnapped, because Kudo wasn't a prince, he was a resource, and in a crumbling mountain kingdom held together by desperation and sword glue, that made him a national treasure with no autonomy. The Ashina elite kept him locked away, guarded, protected, but not for his sake. They wanted his blood, to stall the collapse, to rewrite a destiny that was already circling the drain. And Kudo? He hated it. He just wanted people to stop bleeding for him. He wasn't trying to be a god, wasn't even asking to be worshipped. He just didn't want anyone else to suffer because he got born weird. Which, of course, means everyone around him starts suffering anyway. Because the moment people find out you're immortal, they stop asking if you're okay, and start asking how many centuries are willing to fund their war effort. While Ashina scrambled to protect the divine heir, one man was already calculating how to own his blood. The Owl. Legendary shinobi, professional manipulator, walking daddy issues. He didn't serve Ashina, he served himself. So, when they discovered the divine heir's blood could grant immortality, Owl was eager to nominate his adopted son like a gift-wrapped insurance policy with abandonment issues. He had found the child on a battlefield and took him in, gave him a sword and a code. He called him Wolf. It wasn't parenting, it was asset development. The shinobi code was simple: obey your master, protect the mission, feel nothing. And so, Wolf was stationed at Kudo's side. Not out of loyalty, but because Owl knew exactly what immortality would be worth when everything started collapsing. And Ashina didn't ask questions. Because when your kingdom's on fire, you don't interrogate the guy offering fire insurance. But considering what happens, maybe you should. For years, it worked. But then comes the Hirata estate incident where Wolf could give anyone on a "you had one job" compilation a run for their money. One night, the estate caught fire. Bandits swarmed the grounds. Lady Butterfly, one of Owl's old war buddies, turned on them, and Wolf, still a guy with more programming than personality, was thrown straight into the chaos. Kudo gets taken, Wolf tries to stop it, fails, watches Owl die, and then kicks the bucket himself. But before death can really stick, Kudo gives him some divine blood, and now he's got dragon heritage light. He then woke up later with no memory of what happened, just a burn scar and probably immense guilt, since he did have one job. He then becomes a weapon without a wielder, drifting, waiting, obeying the code in silence. And while Wolf was deep in his character development arc, things weren't looking good for Ashina. The war had spiraled, Ashina's armies fell apart, Isshin disappeared into illness, and the Interior Ministry, the Empire's central government, started circling like vultures with better funding. Suddenly, divine blood wasn't a symbol. Kudo was reclassified from Sacred Heir to Eternal Bloodbag, and when Wolf didn't turn up, they presumed he probably just died. So they locked Kudo in a tower and dumped the full weight of a dying nation on him, asking him to save it by being slowly harvested. But Kudo didn't give up, and somehow managed to slip a letter out. Just 5 quiet words. "Come to me. I need you." So Wolf returns under the cover of night and infiltrates Ashina Castle. He cuts through guards, scales rooftops, reaches the tallest tower, and grabs Kudo. They're almost out, but then Genichiro, Ashina, walks in. Isshin's grandson. Big loyalty, bigger abs, makes up for his collapsing kingdom by swinging a lightning bow and trauma dumping about national pride like a one-man TED Talk. To him, Kudo's blood isn't divine, it's a cheat code. He wants to use it to resurrect the clan's dead soldiers and slap another patch on Ashina's sinking war machine. But Wolf says no, and Genichiro, who clearly doesn't take rejection well, responds by slicing off Wolf's arm. And so Kudo is taken again. Game over. Or at least, it should have been. Instead, Wolf wakes up in a temple, one arm down, trauma levels up, next to a grumpy old man with woodworking skills and a demon problem. The sculptor, ex-shinobi, sculptor of Buddhas, unlicensed prosthetic technician, and Emma, a doctor, is there too. The sculptor doesn't give a welcome speech. He just bolts a new arm onto Wolf's shoulder and tells him to get to work. And if that sounds intense, it's still safer than logging into public Wi-Fi without protection. Which brings us to today's video partner, NordVPN. See, Sekiro had to fight off worm cults and lightning swords just to stay alive. You just have to click one button and not get hacked while doom scrolling on public Wi-Fi or visiting your websites. NordVPN encrypts your data faster than a shinobi vanishes in a smoke bomb, so no one can track you, throttle you, or sell your search history to some cookie monster in a marketing basement. Plus, it comes with threat protection, which blocks malware, trackers, and whatever's hiding behind that shady download now button you definitely shouldn't click. You can even change your virtual location with one tap, perfect for dodging region locks or pretending you live somewhere emotionally stable. And if it's not your vibe, you've got a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you use my link, nordvpn.com/GameMP4, you can even get 4 bonus months on a 2-year plan. That's nordvpn/GameMP4. You can find it in the description too. Now, back to the video. So now armed and ready, Wolf, now Sekiro, courtesy of a masked weirdo in a bird costume, starts trekking Kudo's trail across Ashina, and finally manages to reach Kudo. But things are not happily ever after yet. Kudo's still immortal, which means the world's still at risk of turning into another centipede retirement home. First stop, Senpu Temple, where the worm monks are still going strong. The temple's now basically a rehab center for bad immortality decisions. Next stop, Sunken Valley, home of poison swamps, gun guys, and a screaming ape that comes back from the dead with a sword in its neck. Oh, and also, Sekiro doesn't die anymore. Every time he falls, he just gets back up. Cool, until you realize every resurrection drains vitality from the people around him, spreading the dragon rot. You live, they cough blood. It's immortality with splash damage. So yeah, he's still trying to save Kudo, but now he's also trying to kill the system that broke both of them. Then there's Mibu Village, a peaceful farming town. If your idea of peaceful is waterlogged cult with rot-based dietary habits. Everyone you meet is either already immortal, trying to become immortal, or halfway through the transformation and still taking customer feedback. And none of it works. The monks failed, the nobles failed, the mad scientists and monkey zombies failed. The only version of immortality that doesn't immediately break the user is still Kudo, which means everyone still wants him. And just when it feels like maybe he's finally getting ahead of the collapse, Owl comes back. Yes, Owl. Yes, he's alive. And yes, he faked his death years ago at Hirata Estate. And not only did he just not die, he also started the whole thing. The bandits, the fire, the failure, all his plan. And he just strolls in like this is a normal family reunion, and not a war zone where his son has been collecting traumas like gym badges. No apology, no explanation. Just classic absentee dad energy in one line. Obey your master. Because Owl didn't raise a son, he raised a tool, a shinobi, and now he's here to collect. He tells Sekiro to follow the Iron Code, the same rulebook that raised him. Obey without question, protect the mission, forget who you are. The mission now? Hand over Kudo to Owl. He calls it loyalty. It's really just a hostile takeover. But Sekiro doesn't kneel, because every order he's ever followed, every rule, every mission was just prepped for this one moment. So Sekiro draws his sword and takes on the man who raised him. Not because it's the right thing, not because it's heroic, because it's not him unless he does. The code breaks, Owl falls, no celebration, no redemption, just Sekiro standing in place he was told to die in, finally deciding he won't. So, Owl's dead, Sekiro broke the code, Kudo wants the curse gone, so does Sekiro. Because, well, look at the state of things. So, time to cut the cord, and for that, they need the dragon tears. So Sekiro climbs to the source, to the place where the curse began leaking into the world like divine sewage. Welcome to Fountainhead Palace, an ancient city rotting in real time. Once a kingdom of gods, now a haunted floodplain full of things too sacred to kill and too broken to leave. The old aristocrats, they're called mist nobles. Used to be powerful, now there's just immortal shut-ins breathing fog and bad vibes. And blocking the way to the dragon are Okami warriors. Lightning-wielding shrine maidens who peaked 300 years ago and never logged off. But Sekiro pushes through it all. He's here to finish what the gods refuse to admit they started. He slices through the old dragons of the tree, mummified worshippers still clapping for a miracle that already collapsed, and then he reaches it, the divine dragon, the same one that slithered in from the west centuries ago, dropped immortality on a land that didn't ask for it, and just dipped. Not evil, not righteous, just old and leaking. Sekiro raises the mortal blade and ends it with one clean cut to the eye, and he gets a bottle of dragon tears. Now the curse can be severed. Now the air can be free. Sekiro turns back towards Ashina and finds the whole mountain on fire. Turns out, while Sekiro was busy killing a god, the Interior Ministry just walked in like the final boss of imperialism. Ashina's army is in pieces, the rebellion is over, and Genichiro, well, he's just doing what every eldest son of a dying dynasty does when cornered by actual consequences. He crashed out. No plan, no logic, just a full-on panic build assembled from every system Sekiro already dismantled. You've got parasite tech from the Senpu monks, lightning techniques from Tomo, his mentor, and the last person who tried to save a divine heir and failed. And one cursed artifact no one else was dumb enough to touch, the Black Mortal Blade. It's the inverse of Sekiro's sword. It drags souls back into the fight, and Genichiro uses it to summon the only name Ashina still believes in, Isshin Ashina. Founder, legend. Dead of illness and supposed to stay that way, but no, now he's back, because his grandson couldn't accept that maybe it's over, and decided to drag a war hero out of the afterlife. Isshin didn't ask to be here, but someone handed him a sword and pointed him at Sekiro. And that's basically consent in this kingdom. Now, Isshin Ashina might have been a legend, founder of a nation, slayer of armies, final boss with a third health bar, but Sekiro was the main character. So we know who won, eventually. But things are not happily ever after yet. Kudo's still immortal, and all the remaining options feel like they were designed by someone who equates vulnerability with weakness. So Sekiro has to choose. Option 1 is the Shura ending. This was the path back at Ashina Castle when Owl told Sekiro to obey the Iron Code. If he had obeyed, then he would have become Shura, a firestorm in human form, cut ties with everything, and burned the world until nothing was left. But that ending already passed. This is what happens if you survive it. Ending 2 is Sekiro uses the dragon tears to sever Kudo's connection to the curse. Kudo dies, but he dies free. Sekiro survives, but not as a hero, just as a man with nothing left to carry except the silence. But if Sekiro uncovered Emma's secret plan and followed it to the end, he can take the curse onto himself. That's the third ending. He performs a ritual using the dragon tears and a single Everblossom branch, all that's left of a Sakura tree meant to end divine bloodlines. So Sekiro offs himself and Kudo lives. But if Sekiro goes full completionist, visits Senpu, follows every whisper in the rot-smelled soak wind, and meets the divine child of rejuvenation, a failed experiment by the monks to create their own divine heir, abandoned when their worm plan didn't work, and now the only living vessel able to carry the dragon's power, then things shift. With her help, Sekiro collects the frozen tears, a rare secretion from her body after she absorbs the other failed divine children, and combines them with the dragon tears. And with that, he and Kudo leave everything behind. Immortality ends with them, no heirs, no rots, no restarts. It's not a win, but it's not another cycle either, and sometimes that's enough. The end.